Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers in London. Today I'm looking at a book which has come to us from TOLLEY'S LexisNexis, and it's in their annual series of books to cover taxation issues. It's the tax titles, and they've now re-established these on an annual basis. And I'm looking at the vexed issue of income tax in particular. Now, income tax has been with us for a long time. This book is called TOLLEY'S Income Tax 2014 to 15, and there's also a supplement. It's the post-budget supplement for 2014. I'm recording this actual review at the end of the year, December 2014. We've had the annual statement and we've had the Finance Act, so we're heading now very much towards the general election in May 2015. So we've got 6 months of fiscal stability, I hope, before we know where we're going with the next government and the next parliament. This book has been written by David Smailes, and we'll have a look at it now before we look at the review that my wife Elizabeth and I have written. This is the main work itself. It's now in a 99th edition. There's the front of it. You can see that because there's a consultant editor, Rebecca Bennyworth, MBE, and you've got it's fully cross-referenced to Simon's taxes, and it's also endorsed by the Association of Taxation Technicians. Spine and then the back. The back obviously has a lot of information on it about the contents. Let's look at the main book first of all. The back of the book has a detailed index, very much the house style of LexisNexis, very similar to Halsbury's, the way it's actually structured. And so you should find just about everything you need in the index. Very useful, very detailed. Then you've got the cases at the back, and then before the cases you've got statutory instruments, which are there, and then you've got the statutes themselves there. And then of course right behind that you've got 80 odd chapters, and you've got paragraph numbering. You can see the paragraph numbering at the sides there with some subheads. They've tried to make it as helpful as possible. They've also given references to Simon's taxes there in the particular section, so there's a nice bit of cross-referencing throughout. There aren't any footnotes as such, but you do have relevant key points being effectively the conclusion to an individual chapter. Not all of them have them, but most of them do, and that's very, very helpful. You've also got worked examples. There's one here. The page has just got a little bit... there we go. You've got the actual example there of computation of a particular thing. This is actually about life assurance, and it's just a working example. Probably more helpful for advisors than barristers and solicitors. What you do have, for instance, with the chapters is you've got a detailed index at the front of each chapter. So once you know the area you're looking at, the index at the back doesn't help you. You've got the chapter index at the front. Moving to the front of the book, in fact, let me just remind you of the back. What you've got at the back, inside cover, is some figures. You've got a bit of advertising as well. But what they do with some of these books, LexisNexis, is they give you on the inside front cover some very quick, easy at a glance tables, which are very helpful. They do that with the green book and they do that elsewhere, but I do find that helpful if you're looking for something quite quickly and you're being a bit flustered in court or whatever. That can help you quite immensely. Then you've got the actual front cover there, name of the author. Then after that, 99th edition, as I said. Then read about this book, which sets out what the book intends to achieve, which it does, and the changes since the previous edition. As I've said, I'm just repeating myself, 2010 they reorganised everything at LexisNexis, and they produce these now on an annual basis. Mentions the contributors, and in particular Rebecca Bennyworth, MBE. Contents, alphabetic contents, so it starts with A, allowances and tax rate. Then what you've got after that are a variety of other things all the way through. Then at the end you've got an index, as I say, at the back. What you have got are abbreviations and references, which are quite helpful. Again, as I've said, these references are very important because it's quite easy sometimes to forget what a particular abbreviation means, and it can be quite helpful. Then of course we start off with allowances and tax rates. Now that is the main work. There we go. As I say, you've got the indexing there. That's the main work. Now what you've got with the post-budget supplement, same sort of picture at the front if you like, mentions again what this is all about. It also says it's an invaluable update from the 2nd of July 2013 to the 18th of March 2014. Includes a summary of the Budget Day 2014 proposals. Again, that is the back of it, the spine. And what you've got here, you've got some advertising again at the back, and you've got various other things, but that's the actual front bit of it there. But the body of it, it's got a little bit about the supplement, so you've got some idea, but using it, you've got to use it in conjunction with the main book, because you've got paragraph numbering. So you've got a content section with all the relevant chapters. That's the A to Z list of what you've got. But you've then got the paragraph numbers where there may have been a comment or a change, and that's what you need to look at. As I say, it's very much like the noter up that you probably may be familiar with Halsbury, but again, it's very much the way they do things, and by the way it works. That's why we use it that way. Time limits, for instance, you've got there, and so forth. Now, let me just go through what we've said about this book, because obviously there's a lot in it. It's the 99th edition. We've given it the title Clear, Concise and Current. The new 99th edition of Tolley's Income Tax is out now. As 2015 looms large on the horizon, a week or so away as I record this, tax practitioners everywhere will be thinking about acquiring the latest edition of Tolley's Income Tax 2014 to 15. And if you haven't got yours yet, it's out now. It also comes with Tolley's Income Tax 2014 Post-Budget Supplement. That's the little supplement which I've shown you. And it's a much slimmer volume, yet vitally important, of course, for obvious reasons, with that last piece of legislation before the election. It's interesting to note that this new edition is the 99th edition, and Tolley's tax annuals will be, or should be, celebrating in the next financial year a whole century of providing assistance and advice on tax, maintaining their reputation for comprehensiveness, accuracy and reliability along the way. Regarded as a definitive work, and there's no question in my mind about that, on income tax, this edition provides the practitioner with helpfully detailed yet concise coverage of case law and statute law on the subject, as well as HMRC practice for the current year and also for the past 4 years. So you've got some immediate past history of what's been happening, because we've had a effectively 5 years of stable coalition government. We don't know what we're going to be faced in May 2015 with. The book itself is presented in a handy paperback format, and this volume has over 2,000 pages, that's the main volume, covering more than 80 subject areas, as I've indicated, all conveniently listed alphabetically in the table of contents, and they range from allowances and tax rates to anti-avoidance and appeals to underwriters at Lloyd's and new material concerning unit trusts and venture capital trusts. The considerable amount of new material in this volume includes, of course, all the relevant provisions of the Finance Act 2014, and bearing in mind the increased scrutiny of tax avoidance schemes, this is new material on the matter and on things like social investment tax relief, plus changes to employee share schemes, follower notices, accelerated payment notices, transfer of personal allowances between spouses and or civil partners, and much more, including PAYE, pensions taxation and ISAs. Other relevant material to the 1st of July 2014 includes court cases, tribunal decisions, press releases and statements of practice, and they also include HMRC briefs and other publications. So you've got a fairly rounded amount of detail in terms of any legal research you may need to do, or any general advice, because this book is not just, of course, for barristers and solicitors, it's for accountants and for anybody involved in financial advice. The book contains any number of time-saving features aimed at making life a little easier for for practitioners. There is extensive cross-referencing, numbered paragraphs throughout, and boxed shaded sections containing practical examples, illustrating the effects of the legislation on a day-to-day basis. And I think that's quite helpful when you're actually trying to give advice to people. Other helpful features include the contents list and introductory comments at the beginning of each chapter, the key points sections, which are in some of the chapters at the end, which is a form of conclusion, if you like, to that particular subject, and the table of cases, statutes and statutory instruments at the back of the book, as well as the useful and very detailed index. As I've said and repeat, it's very much the house style, so if you're used to Halsbury and Lexis publications, you shouldn't have any trouble using that index. And typical of the TOLLEY'S tax annuals in general, this volume provides helpful insights from other tax practitioners. And as income tax affects more people practically than any other form of tax, you as a tax practitioner at whatever sort of level or whichever profession, I think will find this long-established work of reference indispensable in advising clients on tax planning. It's current from the 1st of July 2014, and its companion volume, obviously referred to earlier, provides updates from the 2nd of July to the 18th of March and 18th of March 2014, including a summary of the Budget Day 2014 proposals. Let me just clarify so you know exactly what we're talking about. In the post-budget supplement, it's actually the 2nd of July 2013 to the 18th of March 2014, that bit. So you've got a bit of an overlap, but you've then got, that's the supplement itself, you've then got in the main work, what they're trying to do is the definitive work for the financial year. As I say, leading up to the general election next year in May 2015 and whatever follows it. That's the back, which tells you what the changes have been, and then what you've got in the centre of it. As I say, we're looking, this is PAYE for instance there, and you've got the paragraph numbering, as I say, and so forth. And you've got some of the actual paragraph numbers are quite short, and as I've indicated, you do have a reference to Simon's taxes, so that does help immensely. Now, as I say right at the front, you've got some very useful computations about the examples, and I do find the key points. Let's just go for key points at the bottom there. And of course, as I said before, apart from what you've got in the inside cover, which are these tables, which is actually again quite useful. Do be careful with the pages because they're a bit flimsy, but the actual those are really quite useful. But do have a look at about this book, because that actually tells you how to use, well, actually what's in it, and effectively how to use it in the sense of what to find. Then of course you've got the A to Z approach. Anyway, let me thank the author very much, the editor, that's David Smailes, very much for producing this work. I think it's extremely helpful to have something of this nature, basically for anybody who is involved, and even for those people. We all have to do basically our own tax returns, if we're compos mentis, that is. And if you can understand, some of you are far better than some of us as the advisors, because I do find it very, very complicated to know how to work all of this out. But I think, if anything, this book and some of the other books that TOLLEY'S have produced to go with this on income tax are particularly helpful. And obviously we have reviewed a whole range of these publications over the years. But let me thank the author and the publishers very much for continuing to give us such an excellent service with these books. This is where the law is, and this is how you find it. So thank you very much indeed to all concerned. Bye-bye.